how do you write a killer riff that's so damn tasty that it sounds just as good on a guitar as it does on a synth? I don't know. Just kidding. The answer coming right up. Hello, I'm Ray Harmony, and welcome to the Hack Music Theory Show, where we teach you how to hack music theory and make great songs. Alright, so that is the riff that we're going to be having a look at today. We're going to be zooming into every single note, and we're going to be talking about why each note is there. Because if a note doesn't have a reason for being there, it shouldn't be there in the first place. But first, what is a riff? A riff is a very cool thing, but also a very loosely used term. Us guitarists tend to throw it around when we're talking about something repetitive that could be notes, like more of a melodic riff, or it could be chords, more of a chordal riff. It's really kind of whatever the person making it wants it to be. I guess the one thing that ties all riffs together is they tend to be on the shorter side of things, and it's always repeated. So for example, like the verse of a song, you'll lock into the riff, like this one I just played now, and while everyone else is doing their thing, the guitarist is playing through the riff. So it's kind of a guitar-y term for something in between a melody and a chord progression. It can be one or the other, or both, as I mentioned. So, and that middle ground is really where the interesting riffs live, because if you are writing a chord progression style riff, you're just repeating what's already there. And on the other hand, if you are writing a melodic style riff where it's pure melody, you're going to end up with probably a pissed off singer, because you're getting up into their territory, right? So you want to always be very mindful of the role that your riff is playing in the song. So, and this is the role that I'm always really interested in exploring with riffs, whether it is a guitar riff or a synth riff. So I should say this like right up front, if you're a guitarist, then this video is for you, and if you're not a guitarist, then this video is for you, because either way, you want to be able to program riffs. So even if you're a producer, you want to be able to get into your MIDI piano roll, and you want to be able to program out a riff. It doesn't matter if you end up like choosing a virtual guitar or some kind of synth. It really doesn't matter, because guitar riffs sound great on synth, and the other way around as well. Like a good synth riff is going to sound awesome on the guitar. So either way, whether you're a guitarist or not, you want to be able to write riffs, because that's going to give your song that really interesting depth and connection, maybe more importantly, between the harmony and the melody. So you can imagine, like, you know, if the melody's here and the harmony's here, actually usually what tends to happen is you've got the melody on the top with the vocals, and then you've got the harmony in the middle, and then you've got the melody again in the bass, right? So you kind of have this like sandwiched chords with melodies on either side. And what usually happens when that is the texture of the song, what usually happens is that the melodies on the top and the bottom feel entirely disconnected, and to be fair, they are entirely disconnected, which is why they feel like that. So what I like to do is use riffs in the middle. So instead of just a chord progression, right? So in this example that we're doing now, if you remember, we were in E Dorian, and we did the chord progression last time. We put it on the Rhodes. It sounded great, but that chord progression is very much just acting as the kind of the padding between the bass and the melody. What we really want is some way to go through those chords without messing them up, but we want to kind of go through them and create a connection from the melody up top and the melody down below. And to me, that's the job of a riff. You know, I'm sure most guitarists have different ideas about riffs, but that, to me, as a composer, first and foremost a composer, and you know, then a piano player and then a guitarist, you know, for me, like looking at the holistic approach of layering a song, really what you want is to make a riff that is both melodic and harmonic, so it can connect your entire song, and a great riff does exactly that. So let's get into it. Now for the guitarists, the reason why you want to be watching this video and learning this technique is because it's going to entirely liberate you from those, what I consider to be rather evil shapes. Okay, like in this studio, the S word is something we don't talk about, unless you come up with a shape, right? So if you were the person that invented that shape for E minor, then that way of playing it is expressing exactly what you wanted to express. So great, you know. But if you didn't come up with those shapes and, you know, bar chords, then don't play them that way, because that's not how you want to express each specific chord. So for the non-guitarists, what tends to happen with this instrument, because in some regards it's very easy to play and in others it's very difficult to play. Where it's easy is often the downfall, and that's what I call the shape way of playing, where you come up, well, that's the problem, you don't come up with, so you use one of the shapes you find in a guitar chord book, like this, which we call a bar chord because your finger is barring the neck, and then what you do is you just play it up and down the neck. So this is a G major, A major, B major, C major, D major. Okay, so that's not really music, that's just moving your hand in the same shape up and down the neck. Okay, I think that way of playing is long over. You know, in order to express yourself as an artist, you know, and especially as a guitarist, like this is, you know, this is our tool, this is our way of getting our music out. So we need to make sure that we're doing exactly that, and we're not expressing someone else's way of playing a chord. So just to kind of recap for the non-guitarists, the shape way of playing is really just learning where your fingers go and where you need to kind of stop on the neck, you know. So 3rd fret, 1, 2, 3, that's the fret. So 3rd fret, 4th, 5th fret. So 5th fret's A, 3rd fret is G, and that kind of, you know, shapes and figuring out what fret to go from. It's never going to get you sounding like an original artist, you know, expressing your unique voice within. So what you want to do in order to free yourself from that caged system is to break every chord down into its individual notes, right? Because once you have the individual notes, you can put them anywhere you want. And on top of that, the guitar is incredibly creative for how you play chords, because unlike most other instruments, like the piano is a great example. If you want to play, this E, if you want to play that note on the piano at that specific pitch, you can only play it in one place. On the guitar, we can play this E here, we can play it here, and we can play it here. As you can hear, that's all exactly the same pitch, but I just played it in 3 different places. So, and that actually kind of brings me into the very first part of the song, where I use that exact E up here, right? So I could have played it here or here, but I played it here because that's where I wanted to voice the chord. Okay, so voicing is just where you put the notes of a chord, and that's entirely up to you. And that's an aspect of creativity that most guitarists don't explore. Don't just think that your creativity is to figure out a chord progression and, play the chords. That's only half the job. The other half is how you actually express each individual chord, and that makes a huge difference. Because if you get 1,000 guitarists and you ask them all to play the chord progression that we just went through earlier, E minor, B minor, G major, A major, D major, you get 1,000 guitarists to play that, 999 of them are going to play those chords using shapes. So they're going to do something like this, like E minor, B minor, G major, A major, D major, or they'll play them as like bar chords, maybe E minor, B minor, G major, A major, and D major, and that's how the majority of guitar music is written and played. That's boring. Okay, so we're gonna get into the really creative side of how to make a riff, and let's do it exactly on that note. So our first chord, once again we're in E Dorian, so the notes of our scale: E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and E. Our first chord, we're on the root triad, so we're in E minor. Okay, I wanted to go straight in with the most emotional note. I wanted to get right in there with like the heart, okay, and making people feel instantly, literally with my first note. I wanted them to feel that emotion. So it was a no-brainer. I had to play that flat 3, the note that makes minor sound sad. And the flat 3 is G in an E minor chord. 1, 2, 3, okay, G. So remember we're talking about the first note, the third note, and the fifth note, that way of building chords, right? So we want to play that third note, the G, the flat 3, we want to play that as our first note. Now if we play it somewhere low, right, we are not really going to be pulling at the heartstrings the way we could if we play it somewhere high. Okay, so this is a really nice place to start, because it allowed me to also entirely counter the lowness of the bass, because the bass starts on that super low E, and I'm starting like way up here, so it was a really nice contrast. Okay, so I played the flat 3, and then in order to anchor it and actually to give it extra emotion, because we already are getting the E from the bass and the chord, but obviously I wanted to be independent of that. I still wanted to have the emotion in my own guitar part. So I played the flat 3, and then I played the 1 right afterwards. And now I've got this little harmony going. And those are the 2 notes that make the chord sad. So that's all I needed. I didn't need the 5. I wasn't going to add anything extra. And I also wanted to... I was hearing something really simple to start with, because we've got those 2 long minor chords, and I was thinking really drawing those out. There was 2 approaches. I could have done something faster over the slower moving chords, and then when the chords speed up, the harmonic rhythm, right, when each chord is moving on to the next chord quicker in the second half of the chord progression, I could have slowed the guitar down. I decided not to do that. I tried it actually, and I was like, no, it was too much. It really wanted to just start with a really moody, solemn harmony just holding, and that was it. So just went like that, and then I was definitely hearing the same thing for the B minor chord. I wanted that same, once again, motif hunting, right? As soon as I played this, I was like, okay, that's the motif right there. I want that again from the B minor chord. So I did that from the B minor. That's the flat 3 in the B minor. So I played that, and very happy with that, except I didn't want to just go and then... That was boring, okay? Because that's only using harmonic notes. Remember, harmonic notes are notes that are in the chord, so 1, 3, 5. Non-harmonic notes are not in the chord, but obviously still in the scale. So non-harmonic notes are the 2, 4, 6, and 7. So I was thinking that in order to link these 2, I can take this flat 3 down to a 2, which is going to sound really nice in the harmony of that, because now I've got the flat 3 moving to a 2, so it's kind of getting closer to the root. So you got a little bit of like tension there with the 2 and the 1, and then from here, the 2 over the E minor chord, I slide down to the flat 3 of B minor, and then hit that 1. So, and the same thing, I could have gone straight to it, but I actually wanted that slide to really join those 2 chords, and then just a little vibrato on that. And then from there, we're going to the G major. So now things are kind of picking up. We're moving into the major chords, and now we've got 3 major chords coming up: the G major, A major, and D major. So I wanted to do something similar to this, like. So what I did here was a quicker one to kind of give a little taste of things to come. So I went on the same string, which gives us a nice melodic feature there. I went here. So this is just the 1 of B. So I just moved this finger down, so I lost the 1 there, so that's not sounding anymore, and because I wanted this to be nice and clean because it's quick. So this is the root of B, so the 1, and then I did a little pull off to the flat 7 of B minor still. So we're still in B minor. So we've got flat 3 to the 1, and then 1, an octave higher obviously, and then flat 7. And then, check this out, so now we go to the G, but this note, the flat 7 of B minor, that's still ringing, so that's an A, and now I hit G, and what I've got is that same thing again, which I had up here. I've got a 2, so that A, because I'm holding that over the chord change, that A becomes a 2 over G, and that's a really nice way to move into that G major chord. So we've got, and then, okay, now it's time to pick things up. We're fully into the major half of this riff. We've got through the dark times, the 2 minors, now it's time to pick it up. And that's when the guitar is gonna pick up the rhythm too. So from here I was hearing something quick, and then again back to like a little harmony, and then something quick again, because I didn't want the whole thing to just be crazy from there. That would have been too much. So from here I went to the major 3, which was a no-brainer because it's the first major 3 that we've had in the whole riff so far, because it's the first major chord in the chord progression. So to the 3, and then what I was hearing was an ascending kind of arpeggio. So an arpeggio is another term, it's just a fancy way of saying a broken chord. So playing a chord 1 note at a time. And that's what I was hearing here. I was hearing a 3, and then going up to the 1, and then to the 3 again, but an octave higher from where we were. So we get the 2, 1, and then 3, 1, 3, and then I was like, I really need to keep going up. I also didn't want to go onto the B string, that second string, because guitarists will know this. It's because it's thinner, it sounds thinner as well, and I was really enjoying the G string, so I was thinking I'm gonna stay on that. I'm gonna slide up instead. So from the 3 I went to the 5, and then the reason I went up here is because whenever you're writing a melody, especially, you want to almost kind of think like 2 steps ahead, so you can come back 1 step and see where it is that you should go next. And where I wanted to end up over the A major chord was on the 3 here, because I hadn't played that major 3 as the first note in the riff over a chord yet. So in other words, the first chord I played the 3 first, a flat 3, and then the second chord I started again on that high flat 3, but then when we went to the majors actually started on the low. I started on the low G here, and then kind of worked my way up, so which is lovely, but you didn't get that really full impact of a nice high major third to start the chord. As the chord changes, boom, you get a nice high major third. I didn't have that yet, so I was thinking I really want to, as we get to the A, I really want to hit that major third. The other reason for wanting to do that, if you remember back to the chords video, when we were doing the on the keys, the keyboard, it was I explained about A major. The reason we want A major in E Dorian is because that is the chord that our ears are used to hearing as a minor. So in other words, this is E Dorian, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, and that's the A there. So the fourth chord in any Dorian mode is always major. However, because most popular music is made in Aeolian, aka the minor scale, or Ionian, aka the major scale, we're always kind of used to hearing those as the default scale, which means that if you play an E minor, right, then you go to an A, your ear is going to be expecting the A minor, right? So here's that's a nice E minor there, and then your ear is just expecting A minor. Except when you go, you can really hear that's the light at the end of the tunnel. That's the silver lining of the cloud, and that's Dorian. That's why we love Dorian. So anytime you're playing in a Dorian mode, make sure you really play, obviously, and emphasize the fourth chord, and that's what I wanted to do here. I wanted to hit that major 3 on the fourth chord, because that's the one that people are not used to hearing. You know, people are used to hearing the minor, and suddenly they get okay, and that's exactly what I did. I hit that, and then it's almost what I did actually. I decided that I also didn't want to go down to the A again. I didn't want to go down to the low root in the chord, because I'd kind of done that everywhere. Done it there, and then done it there, and did it there. So I was kind of thinking, if I keep doing that, you're just going to end up hearing. Right, so you're just going to keep hearing these low roots coming out, and I mean that's fine, but I just thought it would be kind of cool if you set that up so it starts sounding like this pattern you're gonna keep getting, and then suddenly it disappears. So after the G major, instead of the A, I went to the 5 of A. So that's the major third, and then down to the 5. And then, once again, this thing I did here, I was like, that's the motif. I'm going to reuse that. So I did the same thing for A major. I went 3, up to the 1 again, up to the 3 again, and I slid that up to the 5. So exactly the same thing. And that's why when you get to that part of the riff, it sounds really nice because it's familiar. Right. Really nice and familiar, even though you were expecting a minor third over the A and you get a major third. Okay, and then the next chord, which is the last chord, is our D major. So from here, once again, a motif, you've got that ascending line, and then it falls, and then it wants to fall again, so it falls to the D, which is perfect because that is our root of the next chord. So we went down to the root, which is also quite interesting because that's the first time that we've actually started any chord on that high root. So we started the G major on the low root, and then climbed our way up, and then that was the 3 of A major. But this time we get a really nice concluding sound because we start on the high root. So having said that, I didn't want to finish there, which I could have, but that would have been boring. So now I was hearing a really nice kind of swooping kind of down and then up again, because this is the issue, right? We're currently there and the riff starts here. So just a few notes up. So I could have just kind of stayed there and then just started there again, you know, or I could have put like one note in between or something, but that would have been boring. I wanted to like swoop right down to the low root and then kind of head up again. So we get this beautiful like woo, like dip and then up again. So from the 1, I went all the way down to the major 3 here. So, and then from the major 3, I went down to the low root. So we've got that high 1, 3, and then the low 1. And then, which is cool as well, because the way I'm playing it, I'm holding them, so you get a nice little chord there. And then what I did is I put the major 3rd on top while holding everything. So we get, so these 3 guys are now sounding at the same time. So this is the 1, the 3, and then that high 3. And as you can see, that high 3, we then slide up 1 semitone, and we're back to the beginning. And that's it. Okay, now I ask you, what's more interesting, this or this? Same chords, exactly the same chord progression, just the one is playing shapes, which we all hate, right? And the other one, we are expressing it exactly how, well, I'm expressing it exactly how I want to express it. And that is the whole point. If you played exactly the same chord progression in E Dorian, it's going to come out entirely different. And that is our homework for, hackwork for this week. Homework is so last year. So that's our hackwork for this week. I want you to take my chord progression, E minor, B minor, G major, A major, and D major, and I want you to try and make a riff out of that. Once again, guitarists, obviously you use your weapon of choice, and producers, songwriters who don't play guitar, just use the piano roll and program it straight in, put it on a synth or on a guitar virtual instrument, whatever, it doesn't matter. And remember, the whole point is we're exploring that kind of middle ground between melody and harmony. It's a bit of both, okay? And that's really gonna create an incredible connection from the top to the bottom of your song, from the vocals, or whatever you have at the very top. Might be like another synth line, all the way to the bass at the bottom. Riffs are gonna create that connection for you. So once you've played around with my chord progression and come up with a riff in that which expresses what you want to express, then what I want you to do is step things up, and the Dorian chord progression that you hopefully wrote after the first video, or whatever chord progression you've written in any scale or mode, take that chord progression and turn it into a riff. So start exploring that melodic approach to the chord progression. Remember the interesting thing is going to come from using non-harmonic notes. Okay, if you only use harmonic notes, the notes in the chord, you already saying you're saying what's already there. Okay, if you use non-harmonic notes, then you're actually starting to add value to the song, and there is no point in ever having a layer or an instrument playing along in your song if it's not actually doing something different to every other instrument and every other track in your song. So don't ever just double things up. There's absolutely no point in that. You know, the same way like you don't approach bass as a frequency, you know, it's a melody, and guitar or, you know, synth, whatever you're working on for your riffs, this is an opportunity for you to add something in the core, in the heart, that middle ground of your song that does not exist. So don't just play the same thing the chords are playing, and you know, don't just start copying what the bass is playing. Make something entirely unique, which is going to connect your whole song from top to bottom. So that's the home, a bit of a two-step process for your Hackwork after this video. So experiment, you know, make all the mistakes you want on the chord progression that I just did, and then once you got the hang of it, then turn to one of your own chord progressions and make a riff to bring the heart of the song to life. And once again, I'd recommend checking out the Hack Music Theory for Songwriting and Producing PDF on our website, because there's a melody checklist in there which you want to be using for everything you write that has melodic characteristics. So one of the things we spoke about in the bass video was breaking up perfect fourths and perfect fifths. So any interval of 5 semitones is a perfect fourth, and any interval of 7 semitones is a perfect fifth. These intervals are the ones that vibrate so perfectly, which is why they're named that. They vibrate so perfectly together, they kind of almost sound like the same note, which means that when you play a melody and you move up or down a perfect fourth or perfect fifth, it sounds extremely bland. And this is actually what I did because I've been doing it for so long, it's just part of the writing process. But I'll give you an example. If it wasn't, this is what would have happened. The first chord, E minor, I would have gone down to the second chord, B minor, right? And I would have noticed, I'm like, okay, I like that, but this note, right, the flat 3 in E down to the flat 3 in B, so that to there, you can hear that sounds really, that's boring. That is a perfect fourth, right? So you can see that is 5 semitones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a perfect fourth. So I need to break that up, and that's exactly what I did here by adding the 2 in. And you can hear it now. That is so much more colorful than. Okay, so once you've made your riff, once you've made any melody, you know, always go through and check for perfect fourths and perfect fifths, and break them up, in, you know, any way you want to break them up. Remember, you don't have to, like, if you've, you know, this note down to that note, I could have gone up to a note in order to break that up and then go down, and I often do that. I didn't do it this time because I wanted it to fall, to really have that that emotional feeling of starting on that really sad note and then kind of falling into like the next sad note in the next chord. But yeah, break up perfect fourths and perfect fifths by sticking a note in between them, and it can be in the direction you're already going, or it can be in the opposite direction. It doesn't matter. And always check when you add the note in between, it needs to work both ways, because sometimes you put a note in between which you think is great, but it's actually creating another perfect interval. I'll give you an example. So from this one to there, if I went up to this note and then fell down to there, you know, I might think, okay, I've solved that problem, except this note to that note is just a perfect fifth now. Okay, so I added a note in, but I just, you know, made another perfect interval. So you always need to make sure that the note that you are starting on to the note that's going to be in between, and then from that in between note to the next note, all of those are nice and strong intervals. So seconds, thirds, sixths, and sevenths. And that way it's going to just every single time you change a note, it's going to be really strong. Greetings from inside the computer. So I'm always banging on about the piano test, and even at the beginning of this video I said to you that a great riff is going to sound just as great on a guitar as it would on a synth. So I'm here to put my money where my mouth is and prove it. So here is our guitar riff. I also just wanted to show you what it all looks like in MIDI. So the piano test, here we go. Okay, so I hope you'll agree that that is rather beautiful, and we can now switch it up to any synth we want. I just threw on a nice little pad on the other track, so we can have a listen to that in a minute. I just want to run through the MIDI real quick, just explain what we're doing here. So these muted notes down here, the E, B, G, A, and then the A again, and then the D. So those guys are our root notes for each of the chords. Remember, I always recommend putting that in, muting it, so that shows you the harmonic rhythm where the chords are changing. And then up here we've got, so we can see this is everything over the E, and this guy, that's the flat 3 down to the 2, and that's our root over there. And then we're into the next chord, which is B minor. That's our flat 3 up there, the 1 down here, and then we've got that 1 down to the flat 7 there, and then we're hitting that low G on the root there. So now this is everything that's happening over the G chord. So we've got that low root, and then we've got the 3, and another 1 an octave higher, another 3 octave higher, up to that 5, and then that was that one that was coming down. So we kind of go up, and then we just fall down into that next chord, and that was the major 3 over that A. So now this is all the stuff that's going on over that A chord, the A major chord. So we've got the major 3 up there. That was a really beautiful uplifting part of the riff. And we're going down to the 5 over here, and then we've got the 3, that little same run again, up to the 1, another 3, and then up to the 5. So this is that motif that is happening there. And then once again it falls into the next chord, and that is D. That was that root over the last chord. So all of this stuff is happening over the last chord, which is D major. That was that root up there, and then we went down to the 3, down to that low root, and then up to that high 3 again, and that was the one that I slid up on the guitar from there 1 fret or 1 semitone up back to the beginning over there. So there you have it, all all the MIDI, and I always recommend doing this for writing guitar or synth riffs anyway. Even if you write it on the guitar, put it into MIDI afterwards, because you'll often have a few ideas, being able to really kind of see where everything changes and how it moves. It's a really cool way of looking at what you made on the guitar, and it will almost always give you a little different perception, which kicks up some new ideas of things you could kind of tweak and improve. Okay, so there you go. And this is actually just what I threw on real quick for the synth, because obviously in our song it's actually played on the guitar, so that's going to be audio. I've already recorded it, but just for the example now, I've thrown on a synth. Okay, so exactly the same thing with no guitar this time, and it still sounds awesome, because a great riff is a great riff, doesn't matter what you play it on. So there you have it. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're feeling inspired and empowered, then hit subscribe so we can do it all again next week. And if you're feeling that this video was a little bit too advanced from where you are now, don't worry, we got you covered. Just go to the website revolutionharmony.com and grab the free ebook. You can download that now. You can read through there. It's got all you need to know about scales and chords. If you want to go further from there, you can download the songwriting and producing PDF that we got. And also our Hack Music Theory Part 1 is now in paperback, so you can grab that on Amazon as well. And wherever you're coming from, whatever your level, we start from absolute beginner on the website with our books, and then we're kind of going up from there in these videos. So help yourself to the free book, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.